Winners win. I'm a winner. We're going to win.
Gators Breakdown, because there's never a dull moment in Gator Nation.
The Gators Breakdown podcast is ready to go. I'm your host, David Waters. You can find me on social media at GatorDave_GB, coming at you right here with an episode of Alex Shepard and Sponge right here on Gators Breakdown, talking the return of Phil Trautwein, the return of Bam Hardmon, trying to get the Gators back to the national championship scene, winning a whole lot of ball games like they did when they were here. So hopefully it was a little bit of a slow start with technical difficulty. Sponge, you're still going in and out a little bit, so we'll see if we can get this going.
I'm about to switch to my phone.
Okay, all right. I'll bring you back in. All right. So, yeah, we'll bring Sponge back in just a second. There we go. That's a good start to the episode. Alex, man, how you doing?
Well, my Wi-Fi is working, so that's pretty good. Good overall. New year, new opportunities in work, and I think that goes for everything with Gator football as well. We got a new season ahead of us and a lot of really exciting stuff to talk about.
Yeah, for sure.
That's so much better. We just look good. Look at the two blocks. It fits better. It just looks good.
We've been picking on Sponge for the last few minutes, everybody. So hopefully
it's an inside joke, guys. Okay, yeah. He's a pretty man, and he just looks a little blurry.
There we go. So back in here.
We're gonna go phone style right now because we got issues. I don't know what's up. It's time to get Starlink. I said I need to hit Elon up.
Okay. Guys, plenty to get into. Of course, we've heard from a lot of these coaches. We've heard from Jon Sumrall a lot. Jon Sumrall on Gators Breakdown last week as well. But now, as we go through the coaching press conference car wash, I guess is what I'll call it, we heard this week from some guys who mean a whole lot to Gator Nation. And Phil Trautwein has been talked about every time there's an offensive line coach opening here for Florida. Can't we get Phil Trautwein in? Well, it finally happened. We've discussed the trip here, but now we get to hear his side of it. And Bam Hardmon as well, former Gator linebacker, formerly at Tulane and Troy with Jon Sumrall. So both those guys coming to Gainesville together. So lots to get into, guys. But it's a homecoming of sorts. With these guys, and with the feel of a new staff that makes us feel good for the hopes in the future and winning some more ball games, it does feel a little bit better when you can bring some guys who meant so much to the program and meant so much in just the word winning back to the program.
Sponge, I'll let you have the honors because you've had a rough go about it to begin with. So let's get you
in
first.
I'm for real, right? Now we talked about it earlier this morning too. Me and Dave did. Just we've been spitballing, just great off-season win right now. We're feeling good just from hearing all, like you say, the car wash of all the coaches, the staff. Like after the dust all settled, the college football season ended. We had the crazy, carousel that we had back in like November, December. And, now that, everything's kind of set in place, I think we're super excited. You got to be, just because it's new, it's fresh. And then the additions of all these staff guys that he's added, on this coaching staff, you got to feel pretty good about everything. And especially the two guys we're talking about today, because those guys have been in this building, have played in that stadium, have played in the SEC, played in big time games. And now they're back and they want to basically put their stamp on what they were as players, as coaches now, and, coach these young guys that, are now going to be wearing the Gator head, on their chest and all that, so like, it's super exciting. Everything's been, fresh and good. And like I say, we're winning the offseason right now. So we're 1-0 right now, but we ain't played a game yet. So it's cautiously optimistic, but you got to be feeling good just about everything that's been going on for the last couple of months. And, it's like you're ready for spring football and you're just ready to get it going again.
Yeah. And I mean, I've been trying to think back. I know that we've wanted it feels like every time we've had a new coaching hire, the offensive line coach has been the one that we have the most gripes about. Like everyone's sitting there just like, who is this guy? You know, like why can't we get somebody who can consistently recruit these top tier players? And I think there was a quote from Tratwine this past week saying, you know, I don't care if they're a 5-star, 4-star, if they love football and they want to get developed, like they're going to come here and you can look at my track record. And I believe him. Now, if Rob Sale would have said that, I would have scoffed a little bit and said, yeah, sure. But
it would have been like, well, we know you're not getting a 5-star and 4-stars.
we've seen the track record. No, you know, Sale brought in some good guys, but and you know, I just think that the development wasn't where it should be. And I see Trautwein standing there. He looks still like he could line up against some of these guys and handle business. And so I can't remember personally, and maybe this is a little bit biased, the last time a position coach like that had as much hype behind just them. I'm trying to think of who it might have been, like when we brought Billy G back or
Corey Raymond.
Not even I mean that was what, 5 years ago?
So, Napier's initial staff.
Yeah, and before that, I mean, I'm trying to think of who were these, you know.
No, don't get me wrong. I was hype on Corey Raymond, but I did say at that time, I was like, hey, his previous years at LSU when he was coming in weren't the traditional Corey Raymond when he came. I was still excited for it because, of course, you know, orange and blue Kool-Aid. You'd be like, well, he's gonna come back and be that here at Florida. Well, he wasn't. Went back to LSU, but I think that's probably the last big hype. Like, Alex, I do agree with you on that. That you're probably right about that.
Yeah, I've been trying to think about that all day. Like, of, you know, who's the last guy that I was like, oh man, and I'm not talking about a coordinator. I'm talking like a position coach, like DBs, wide receivers, O-line. I mean, I genuinely can't think of one, you know, other than what you mentioned, like Billy G coming back was cool, but I wasn't like, oh, this is going to be game changing. I genuinely feel like Trautwein might be our best offensive line coach since like Meyer. Like, not Meyer the coach, but like when he was here.
Yeah,
like
Hennessy and all those guys who
like, you know, so I think he brings a genuine juice to the O-line. I bet you maybe it'll be on video. He's probably going to line up against some of these guys and show them how it's done. Like, he's a big dude, 6'6", probably. I mean, he's slimmed down a little bit, but he's probably what, like, you know, still 270, 260. But I'm excited to see what he does. I'm excited for Bam. I just like that there are Gators in the house, man. I'm a 4th generation Gator, so it means a lot to me to see people coming back and supporting the brand.
Yeah, so we'll extend this conversation a bit. We'll hear from Trautwein on being back in the offensive line room. Then we'll switch it to Bam Hardman on him being back and the edge room, the jacks that he's going to be coaching. So lots to get into with these two guys right here on Gators Breakdown. Everybody hit that like button. That really, really helps us out. Leave some comments. Some of you have left some comments already. And subscribe right here on YouTube if you're watching us live or checking out the replay right here on YouTube or your favorite podcast platform out there. And, of course, Gators Breakdown Plus, everybody. Go be members there. If you're not, go hop into Discord. Keep that conversation going. GatorsBreakdownPlus.com. Ad-free episodes of Gators Breakdown you can have right there. And taking part in that Discord. We'll have another Discord chat coming up soon with Gators Breakdown Plus members. All that starting at $3 a month. And then new spring, new look, all that good stuff. Spring on the way. Gators Breakdown merch, gatorsbreakdown.printful.me is where you can find that. Go to gatorsbreakdown.com and get a link right there as well. But some new Gators Breakdown merch. Everybody out there, I mean, the Move Back You Suck shirt's still really selling pretty well. I mean, that's a good one. That's a good one.
Dave, those are sick, man. I love those shirts.
Yeah, some new stuff.
I love the palm trees. Nice job.
Yeah, there we go. You know, I think the palm trees, like when spring, summer rolls around, that might be a little more.
It's going to hit.
Yeah. It's going to hit. But I did share the graphic I shared on X today when I previewed this episode. I think I'll turn that into a shirt too, by the way. So
that was, I mean, that got some reception. People liked that.
It did. So
you did that all by hand, right?
Yeah.
You painted all of that yourself.
He's an artiste.
Yeah. The initials of the artist, AI.
Ah, yes, Allen Iverson. I heard he has a talent for that.
Hey, it's amazing what it can do right now for that kind of stuff. But
Very cool.
There we go. Yeah, there we go. All right, let's get into it, everybody. Let's hear from these guys, and we'll start with Phil Trautwein, of course, and his return to Florida. More about, it's more than nostalgia. It's about restoring this championship glory that we all want. A 2-time national champion, of course, as a Gator player, all the way back in the Urban Meyer that were kind of Zook days, talking to Spurrier, but again, coming with Ron Zook, staying for Urban Meyer, winning some titles there. Of course, at Penn State recently, where he helped lead the Nittany Lions to the college football playoff semifinals in 2024. He rejoined Florida back in January. Go back to the resume right quick, guys. 39 all-conference selections, coached over 8 seasons, 7 players drafted during his Penn State tenure alone. So now he's building Florida's offensive line with, just kind of philosophy of his: development over dollars, fundamentals over flash, and a relentless commitment to, quote, no talent things that separate the good from elite. So let's hear on the return of Phil Trautwein.
This place is special to me. I learned a lot. I grew a lot as a person, as a player. I have unbelievable love for the University of Florida. And for me as a coach, I always wanted to come back and coach where, I played and where I learned football, where I learned how to be a man, and then being able to help young men, through the same journey that I've been in. And so for the first time as a coach, I could say, I've been in your shoes, because I literally been in your shoes. And we talked about I didn't have this building, but, I was a Florida freshman, sophomore, junior, redshirt senior, and won a national championship, did a lot of great things here. So for me, coming back was my goal the whole time.
What will be your approach to kind of reestablishing kind of the standard that you left behind?
Yeah, it all starts with culture. Coach Sumrall, that's his main thing. It's about culture and his 4 core values, and just making sure we emphasize that every single day in everything we do. So making sure we set the standard and how we approach, in the O-line room, we talk about NTT, no talent things, making sure that's who we are, and it's fundamentals, technique, the way we prepare, the way that we attack and approach every single day has to be on point. And, no one's going to outwork us, and no one's going to come in, to a game out preparing us. So we just have to make sure that's the stuff that we can control, because you see at the University of Florida, you can have great talent, but it's the no talent things that make you special and make you elite. And so that's what we're going to do, and that's who we're going to be as coaches.
There we go. And look, it's an advantage. We've heard since Jon Sumrall was hired, and Alex, you and I, we were there in the room, and Urban Meyer's in the room. And, certainly there's been a lot of talk of Jon Sumrall and Urban Meyer and discussions that they've had. And, of course, that's the time, a frame in time we'd all love to go back to, because Florida's winning a whole lot of ball games. Phil Trautwein, very, very instrumental in that. So it's kind of cool, the correlation of so much Urban Meyer talk when Jon Sumrall was hired, and you have one of his key pieces, you have one of the leaders that were on offense and that played with Urban Meyer for so long. This wasn't just a flash in the pan, and he was somebody who was with Zook for most of his time. And I'm not trying to shade these guys who were only here for 05 and 06 and then left. And those guys, we hold those guys in high regard too. But this was a guy who came in very late under Ron Zook and just stayed almost, for his entire tenure was almost under Urban Meyer, and got to see the growth and what it takes. And hey, look, we know the game has changed in the last 20 years since he's played. Some of the things you probably can't even get away with now, but we've heard about all this workout routine and just how heavy it is, and how it's kind of the gauntlet, maybe the mat drills. It's going to remind us of those mat drills back in the Urban days. So, but there is a nostalgic feeling of getting somebody, especially at a position group that we've kind of just been ho-hum on for such a long time, to get a name that means so much to us at a position group that means a lot to a football team, that has held Florida back for so long, and that knows where this thing needs to go, knows the expectations, just knows how it needs to go for Florida to get back, especially for this group of players.
Yeah, 100%. I don't know, Sponge, I'll let you go because I've talked a lot.
Yeah, you're good. Yeah, no, what's kind of refreshing about this whole situation, listening to him talk, and again, when you hear a coach speak and you hear, we talk about how great Sumrall's been, and you win the press conference, all that stuff. You go across the country, all coaches are preaching the same things. They're all saying the same stuff. Nobody's going to outwork us. We're going to work as hard as we, in the next team. you build competition, you build culture. That everybody breeds that, so part of it is who's really, infiltrating that culture into the players, like when is it, how's it getting through to those guys? And, we've talked about it till we're blue in the face, just like Billy's energy and his, how he talks and, he just gives you coach speak and all that. And you don't feel it, but like when you listen to guys, I guess, it's like an entrusting feeling of like, okay, these guys, they get it. They want to implement their system, their style, their culture. And you almost like, you get an invigoration feeling of like, all right, these guys get it. They, especially when we're talking about Tratwine, who's actually played here, went through the rigors of, being at the University of Florida under Zook, under Urban, winning national titles, being here and then just wanting to basically give back to what he learned, which is what he was doing at Penn State, which is what he would be doing if he was coaching somewhere else, so, but it's kind of special that he's doing it back at his alma mater in a place where like, it means something to him. So, it's like one of those things of like, this is like, it's special that we finally, like I say, got somebody in the room where what are the two really most important pieces of football teams now? Your lines of scrimmage. Think about when we won back in those days. We had a really good offensive line and our defensive line was really good. We got after the quarterback. You protect the quarterback, you get after the quarterback. You look at across the SEC, those teams who, can do that 9 times out of 10 are going to be at the top. They're going to be at the end. Look at Indiana and Miami this year. Both of those teams made it. They had really good offensive lines. They had really good defensive lines. So the game, like we always says, it's cliche, won in the trenches. So now we got a guy who's busted tail and been great at a high top university at Penn State. And, so now we got him home. And so like we've been clamoring for him to be back in Gainesville. Well, now he's back. And so now it's just like, let's have high expectations for that offensive line to be one of those, like think about when we were talking about back last year, one of the focal points of what was going to be good on this team that we thought was going to be our offensive line. So now you got a guy who I think we feel like we could trust, a guy who's been there. So like, that's, I think the most exciting part for me to think about is a guy like him, basically taking control of that room to basically make these guys, studs, make that group really good to protect whoever's at quarterback, create big holes in the run game and all that. So it's just great to hear. And like you say, it's exciting because, there's just that new blood, that new feeling. And like I say, it's up from here now for sure.
Where I like what I think somewhere this is coming across too. Now we got to see the results, but for the first couple of months on the job, we've seen it on the recruiting trail. Like that's where this new energy's come through because you're hearing bigger names along this offensive line recruiting. Florida's attacking 5 stars and highly rated 4 stars now. Going to Alex's point earlier, he did make sure to point out, I'm not really just going after 5-star and 4 stars. They just happen to be 4-star and 5-star and 4 stars. Sure. But, look, coaches, I'll give them credit. They're not sitting here looking at the top of On3 and top of On, 24/7 and saying, all right, I'm going to go get these guys. But, their scouting matches a lot of that scouting, but that's what it does get us excited for going after these 4-star and 5-star guys. And, some guys are following him from, I think what we're talking about in his connection to Florida, he's been able to share that with some guys he's already recruiting. And you can tell, I think they know this place means so much to him because those guys in the Northeast that he's talked to at Penn State for the last couple of years, he's already got those guys interested down here at Florida. And it's been like, hey, you've already been interested in me. You're interested in me at Penn State. I know that place down there. I know that place is special. I know you can go win at this place. I can develop you there too. And I know what it's going to take. And to me, he's been able to share a vision where guys from the Northeast are seriously considering. Now, because he went through it himself. He was a Northeast guy. And he talked about it in his press conference. My first college football game ever was 2001 Florida Marshall. That was Steve Spurrier's last year. And then, of course, the transition to Ron Zook. And that was it. He was a Northeast guy, had never experienced anything like this. Now he gets to share the experience from all these Northeast kids that are now visiting Gainesville and now for scheduling visits in May, scheduling visits in June, I can share this vision. And I think that's where we've seen it come across a bit, that he knows how special this place is, and he's been able to share that with guys now.
Yeah. And I'm going to be, even though I want to be excited about everything, I'm going to be kind of like bouncing off of you saying like, we still need to see the product, right? And because I think Sponge just said something along the lines of like, we were told, oh, the O-line is going to be the strong suit of the team last year. And it was arguably the worst unit on the team last year. And so we've been told, coach after coach, oh, we're going to lift heavy and we're going to do crazy conditioning and we're going to do all this stuff. And it doesn't seem to show up on the field. So I would say that this is the most belief that I've had in someone to actually put that product on the field. And actually, you know, maybe they have more of those midnight lifts that we saw in the documentaries where they are just going at it and up till 3 a.m. just lifting, not because their coaches are telling them to, but because they want to be there. They want to put in the sweat to show like, you know, we're not going to walk in here and just get beat on the trenches. We're literally going to pound the ball and we're going to make sure that we dominate the line. And so I also want to mention something that this might be a little bit biased, and I might have to have you put me full screen here for a second. You know how Tratwine has the Gator tattoo, right?
Yeah, he showed it off.
Yeah, he's got it, and he's got the 2 trophies. So if you will, 1 second. Hold on. I got to see if I can get this up. Hold on. It's a Gator.
It's a big Gator.
There you go. So I'm a little bit biased with Trautwein and you know, Gator tattoos because I've had mine for I don't know 4 years, and so to see another guy in who like loves the Gators enough to put the ink on skin.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So did you see the press conference, Alex, where he was showing it off?
Yeah.
There's one trophy and there's the other one.
And
Yeah.
now he wants somebody to go bet with him for another one. If Florida wins another one,
let's add to it.
So
I mean, I don't have any trophies on mine, but you know,
well, we gotta get the connection.
I'll get a camera. I'll get a little camera inside the Gator mouth or something because I took pictures of it.
Yeah, you take the bet with him. If Florida wins another one, he'll add to it, and you get your first natty tattoo.
All right, Phil, we're gonna clip this and we're gonna put it on Twitter. I will get whatever tattoo Gator related that you want if we go win a natty. Fair? All right.
Let's do it.
That's fair.
Do it. Done. I'll add it to my and you know what? I'll one up you. I'll do it on my shin where it hurts like a mother. So just saying. You know, here it's fine. You know, that's why that was one of my first ones. It doesn't hurt there. Your shin. Oh. Anyways, so I'll go through that pain for you, Mr. Phil Trautwein, if you can pull that off.
Yeah, we're going. Well, I'll find that. I'll find that bite. We'll tie all this together, and we'll get that. We'll get it going. That'd be fun.
Yeah,
that'd be fun.
I think Dave should get a head tattoo if it happens. What do you think? Big old Gator head.
Big old Gator head on the bald head.
Yeah, the teeth coming over like the.
Yeah, like it's biting down on my head or something like that.
Yeah, there was that. You remember that FSU guy way back in the day? He used to always paint his head with that disgusting out west team's logo on his bald head.
There was a Georgia guy too for a long time.
Yeah, there was a Georgia guy. Yeah, it's it's a thing. You just don't do a permanent. Don't do a permanent one, bud.
I think Alex was.
I got a Jaguar too.
No, Alex can definitely get it. I'm talking about we're not doing one on the dome.
Oh, I know. I think Alex wants me though. I think Alex wants.
Oh, I mean, maybe not on the head, but like I would definitely like get like a little UF one here, like maybe the old logo or something. Yeah, I'll go with you. I'll hold your hand if you want. It'll be okay.
No tats for me right now. Sponge, you got any tattoos?
I'm clean, bro. I'm clean.
Yeah, me too. Alex has got enough for both of us.
There you go.
Alex, you could be adding one more in like a couple years.
I'm a couple of years. No, this year.
Okay.
This is it. This is the one.
Okay.
Phil. On you now.
Hey, if Kurt Signetti can do it, we can do it, right?
Oh, hey. There we go. Let's keep it going right here with Phil Trautwein. Talk about the offensive line group, the Penn State transfer pipeline, this transfer portal cycle, and one player standing out. Hint, hint, 904.
They have a lot of talent, and talent will only get us so far. But one thing I can say about all the guys in that room is they all want to be here, and they all want to be coached, and they all want to be demanded a lot from, and they want to get better. and that's always half the battle, right? So they give great effort every single day. And so for me, it's just teaching them, my fundamentals, my techniques, and just driving them, making sure I push them. And they're basically, they're doing great. They're listening. They're adapting. And I'm excited about what the O-line, group is going to be here in the future.
TJ and Egan, just what have you seen out of their development so far? What's the next step for them? And can you maybe go a little bit into their path coming here and want to continue playing for you?
Yeah, TJ and Egan, they, TJ came for me at Texas A&M, then came to Penn State, played and started some games for me last year at Penn State, and he's continued to get better. He sees himself getting better. That's why he's here, because he feels like me and him together can get him to reach his maximum potential and get to where his dreams are, which is the NFL and be drafted high. So that's awesome that he believes in me and I believe in him. So that's the relationship, going back to, why I coach and all that stuff. And the relationships are key. And then Egan, came to Penn State at 235 pounds and now he's, 300. So you can see that was kind of me. You can see I wasn't the biggest, but I had to gain weight and he's doing it and he trusts me and, he's developing. He started in the bowl game versus Clemson, did a heck of a job. I love who he is, and he's coming out every single day and helping me set the standard and helping me, embrace my culture and everything. So, I'm excited that he's here and he's a Gator, both of them.
So far in that O-line room sticks out to you the most?
Who?
Yeah.
Man, there's a lot of guys I can go through, but I would tell you, Rod Kearney is a really hard worker. He's kind of the leader right now in the room. He loves football, but there's a bunch of guys that are really taking my coaching and us as a program but I could tell you that's one guy that just is working hard every single day, and there's a lot of guys I could talk about right now, but that would probably be the one that sticks out because he is one of the leaders in the line room.
All right, guys, we'll wrap up offensive line talk here on the heels of that. And look, here's my opinion with this. If there's one group that should want to feel the way that Tratwine says they, do, then it should be the offensive line. First, kind of going back to the previous discussion we just had, it's just a group that never took that next step under Billy Napier. Had some good moments, but consistency as a group was just never there. Had some standouts like Osiris Torrance for a year, of course, Jake Slaughter being developed, Austin Barber to an extent. But, now I think if you look at it, so many new faces to go along with a new coach. I mean, those guys I just mentioned, Torrance was for 1 year. Those other guys played a lot of football for Florida. Now they're on the way out. There's a lot of new faces with a new coach here that I think can go a long way. And for players who have been here, it's a new approach with a new face leading you. For transfers, it's a new place to take the next step. Going to those Penn State guys and the changes that were going on there, and those guys. We talked about recruits just a second ago that at least are trusting Tratwine enough to take a visit down here. We got guys that were up there at Penn State in Pennsylvania with him to come down here and transfer to Florida with him. So that word trust, I think, is going a long way when it comes to Phil Trautwein. But I think we'll get into some more player specifics here too. But anything catch your ear there, guys?
Sponge?
Yeah, basically, the big thing right there, too, off the end there was, talking about Big Rod, who's, like I say, one of our local guys here from Orange Park. But yeah, you just hit on it too. When you get guys who, transfer down from Penn State, who kind of know his style of coaching, knows what he wants, from an O-line room, those guys can kind of be, leaders in a sense, along with somebody like a Rod Kearney, it's kind of like you've waited your 2 years that you've been here, and now you're showing signs of major leadership to step up and be one of the main guys in that O-line room. And, like I say, when you have a new coach, when you have transfers, all that, it's like a new lease on life. Sometimes, it's good for guys to basically get like a new voice, just a new scenery, in a familiar place in a sense, because you're like, you've been here, but now you've got new voice, new style, new schemes, all that stuff. And so when you got a guy like Trautwein, who, like we said before, who's kind of been there, done that, someone you can kind of trust and someone who can tell you, what it's like. Again, that's what I think is so huge about this is like he's done it, and it's, Alex said earlier, like Rob said, we really believed in that guy, didn't we? And so when you hear some of these, coaches who kind of like, again, this is where too the game has kind of changed with the youth movement in a sense with coaches and guys who are kind of like in that younger mode to where they're just a few years removed from playing the game. And so they're not like these old heads in a sense, and so like when you get this new youth movement and you get guys who kind of connect well, it makes for, a big time change. And so that's where, you like the fact that you got a guy who's been there, done that at the University of Florida, being the head guy in the room, basically coaching these guys up. And yeah, you're getting, you're not only getting like the 4 and 5 star guys hotly interested now in wanting to come here where we, we're like, dang, can we get a big time recruit? No, we're trying to develop a 3-star guy who's like maybe develops into somebody, a good player, but maybe not. And then, then you're getting transfers from, big time schools to follow you down here. And so hopefully all that meshed together is just going to continue the continuation of building that O-line room to being one of the strong focal points of the team. So like I say, getting him was huge feather in the cap. And, like I say, I know we're all cautiously optimistic and all that, but, you got to feel good about where it's going.
Yeah. I think you're muted. I was going to say one quick thing is that I like what you said about like the kind of diamonds in the rough, and like you can find those every once in a while, right? You get that 1 3-star guy that you develop and is like some all-star talent, but I'd much rather continue to search for diamonds in a diamond mine than diamonds in a rough on the throwing a dart at a dartboard and seeing if we can develop a guy. So the higher level we can continue pushing, I think we're going to see more results. So I'm 100% with you.
Yeah, well, think about prime example. A couple of the guys that we lost out on to our rival, the Miami Hurricanes. Mario is the offensive line guy, and we struck out on some of those guys, and like those guys were 5-star, 4 and 5-star players, the top linemen in the country. We didn't get them, and they went there, and they turned out to be pretty damn good. So like you definitely got to get the good players. So if you could start getting those guys interested in sure, they're in your top 5 or whatever, but like, can you really pull them? Can you really swing it and get it? And, that's where that's still a wait and see process. We still got to see that. And then, like you say, then develop them, which we've kind of seen the recipe of. He's been able to do that at a high level at a, top 10, top program at Penn State, one of the best teams in the Big Ten, while he was there. And so like that proof is there. So now it's like a matter of following through of getting those 4 and 5-star guys and developing the 3-star guys and making that room good. But you definitely got to hit on the big dogs, all across the board. We talk about that with not just O-line. You got to get these studs. You got to get the 5 stars. And so when you do that, like I say, then you complement that with getting, big time players in the portal. That's where it's at right now. So hopefully we're going to start continuing to do that, all across the board, not just at O-line, but every position. So, like I say, we're cautiously optimistic will be the word, but I definitely love the direction we're going, basically.
I think the interesting part of this, guys, is, we talked about the 2 Penn State transfers right there. And, of course, he was going to be asked about those guys, having so much familiarity with those guys. And I like what Tratwine said, because this was my biggest thing. The word familiarity has come up a lot with, some of the staff members, some of the transfers, whether they come from Georgia Tech, whether they come from Penn State. You got specialists coming from Tulane. But it's how these transfers are going to help establish the standards in the room. To me, it's almost like having coaches out there, because they can share their information from a player perspective that they've learned under Phil Trautwein for the last couple of years at Penn State. The players, the players that have been here at Florida or that were not at Penn State before, they have somebody to rely on now. And if there's a certain, you want your coaches to be able to share the vision, but you also want to be able to rely on your peers a good bit too. So now you got peers who come from Penn State, guys who played for Phil Trautwein the last couple of years, who know the expectation, know the standard that they have to play at, and they can share that with their fellow teammates. And I think it's really going to be interesting now, because both these transfers are coming in. They're going to be battling for some guys who have been here. And we just heard it right now. TJ Shanahan's been talked about a lot as transferring from Penn State and probably going to be battling that right guard spot. It sounds like he's going to be battling Rod Kearney, that right guard spot, because there was the one player Phil Trautwein made sure to point out, and that's going to be a position battle right there at right guard. And then on the left side at left tackle there, you're going to have another battle, I think, there with Egan Boyer and maybe Fletcher Westfall, who was one of the higher-rated recruits from along the offensive line from the past staff. So these guys, while they do have the experience with Phil Trautwein at Penn State, they're not shoo-ins for the job, but I do think their experience is going to go a long way, not only for them to go compete for the jobs, but also sharing that information with their fellow teammates.
Yeah, the other thing too, just we talk depth, man. We got depth. You want to whoever wins those positions, great, because then you got a quality backup, or another player that's just as viable. Like that's the biggest thing, really, when it comes down to this new age of college football. Is like you got to have some depth, and it's hard to build depth, obviously, with the portal because guys who want to play are transferring to go start, not backup players. So that. If you can get some depth across the line, and then you're going to have injuries too. So, like, that's what you want to see. You want to see competition at all those spots, and you want to have a guy who can come in, plug and play. And, like, I want to see the versatility maybe. Can any of those guys move to other positions? So it's definitely going to be interesting to see and fun to watch for sure.
Yeah. Good segue.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Fun to watch. Well, hopefully the defense is more fun to watch, guys, because whew. Besides that, November of 2024, it was left a lot to be desired on that side of the ball. And we got another homecoming on that side of the ball, too. Bam Hardmon coming in, former Gator linebacker, 1999, 2002. Spun your era.
That's
right
it.
There at the University of Florida, right here. Bam, hey, we just spoke about 904 with Rod Kearney. Well, we got to come back to the 904 with Bam Hardmon, Ed White High. Spun your neck of the woods right there. You guys grew up together, spent some time in Gainesville together as well. So coming, back to his alma mater with head coach Jon Sumrall, 7 years together. Troy, Tulane, Hardman, of course, Jacksonville native, 4-year letter winner, all SEC linebacker, team captain. Spun, you got a little bit of background. Share the background with you and Bam Hardman.
I love it. I love this. It was I was super excited. I was actually texting him way back, and when Sumrall got the job, I'm like, you come? He just didn't say anything. It was just like, played bluff or whatever. So I'm like, all right. But no, Bam. I'm a West Side guy. I went to West Side High, aka old school NB Forest, and he was at Ed White, which is the two biggest, not big. Like we stink. We sucked. We were terrible. Ed White was really good in that era from like 99 to like Coach Dan Dish was the head coach there he had a stint at Florida for a little while and was all over a couple of teams at SEC in North Carolina and other places. But Bam was a beast at linebacker in high school. Went to Florida. Obviously I went to a Division II school after I graduated in 98, but then circled back when I transferred to UF to just be a student. Like he was obviously there in 2000. So, we were there. And like I say, it's just awesome to watch him, play and then, coach. And like I think I told you this morning, we got closer after the fact of when he was coaching at Troy and Tulane, when he was coming to recruit Trinity guys, when I was coaching, at Trinity. So like, he would always come and, talk to me and Gus and Ross, who's the best players, obviously from Trinity and Jacksonville in the area, like I say, this is where I know he's excited, because when you're coming from Tulane and Troy, I'm telling you the guys who you can and can't get, basically like, yeah, he's not going to Troy or Tulane, but we were steering him like, okay, this guy's your guy, like that type of thing. Now being at Florida, he's going to be able to recruit the guys that he knows he wants to be able to get and should be able to land. So I know he's super excited about the player now that he can go reach and go get and, contact to basically be like, yeah, like the Miles Grahams of the world, to come play linebacker for him at Florida. So like I say, I'm super excited for Bam. And like I say, I was telling you earlier, I can't wait to get down there. I'm hopefully for spring and just, chat it up with him and just hang out and just, talk some ball. Because, like I say, it's great that he's back again. Because why? He played at the University of Florida. He knows what it takes to win there. He knows what it is to, wear that helmet, to wear that jersey. And like I say, there's nothing more exciting than to be coming back to your school to basically, try to restore the glory, baby.
There we go. So on some of those angles, let's hear from Bam Hardmon being back in Gainesville.
Big Bam.
We were right in the midst of competing for the playoff game, so a lot was going on. People congratulating me for what, I don't know, because Coach Sumrall had gotten the head job here at Florida. But then as things started moving, I got the opportunity to come here. I was really excited. Place that I've started my career at and got a degree. My wife went here, different things like that. So I was really excited about the opportunity, for sure. Straight to be a Gator. That's the best way to put it, man. But it feels really good. I walk through the building often and just saying, my, I'm really back here and actually as a coach now have a chance to help with the process of getting this place to where it was when I was here. So I'm excited about that part.
When's the last time you've been back in Gainesville or around the program, and how much has it changed since then?
Well, I was lucky enough. I've been around a little bit, more or less for recruiting, because I still had the area and recruiting aspect. So I've been in the building only once, though, to be honest with you. But I've been in the Gainesville area here and there. And I'm from Jacksonville, so every now and then I kind of come through. But haven't been to a game in the swamp since 2007. So when I proposed to my wife, yeah, for homecoming game, but hadn't been to a game in the swamp. I've been to about 3 other games when they played in Jacksonville, they played in Miami, and played in Orlando. So I've been to about 3 other games since graduating, but first time, so I'm looking forward to it.
There we go. We've talked about the history there. Alex, what is it? Do you view it? I mean, the word trust has to come up with Jon Sumrall, because coached with him at Troy, brought him with him to Tulane, now bringing him with him to Florida. I mean, this would almost seem like the no-brainer. I mean, this was like, all right, well, who's on the staff? We knew Bam Hardmon's on the staff at Tulane. Who's he going to bring with him from Tulane? Is it going to be a lot of staffers? Is it going to be just a few staffers? Where if there was one, I think if you had to find a way to get on board, be like, don't stretch it, don't reach it. If you don't believe he's not the guy, then don't bring him along. But if you think there's some value in Bam Hardmon being a coach here at Florida, him being here at Florida, you got to make it happen.
Yeah. And, I remember you were mentioning how we were at the opening press conference, and Sumrall was asked, are you going to hire your friends? Because coaches have done that here and look where it got them. And he was very quick to say, I don't hire friends. But if I had to say, like you said, there was one guy from these previous staffs that I would want back in town, it's a former Gator. I mean, it's just that simple, because everything that Spud just said, regarding how they know the culture here and they know the standard, Bam being a team captain back in his day, he knows not only what it's like to win, but what it's like to lose and build your guys back up. And I don't know what it is about Tratwine and about Bam. The way that they talk just like makes me feel like behind closed doors, those guys can just like tear into people and make them play hard ball. I don't know what it is. But obviously Sumrall saw something in him over the years of coaching together that he felt drawn to bringing him here. I don't think that he just looked at him and said, oh, this guy was a Gator, he'll fit. Clearly he sees him in a high regard if he brought him over on one staff, and he's continuing to bring him over here. Just as I said with Tratwine, got to see what the product is on the field. He's obviously got some talent to work with, probably the most talented group of guys that he will have worked with. And will that translate into SEC play? I hope so. Clearly he knows what kind of job is ahead of him. And I mean, I think he's up for the task, but only time will tell.
All right. And on that, of course, you talked about the talent in the room and what he's got to work with. Had to fight tooth and nail, make that trip out to Kansas. They'll make sure you keep Jaden Woods on this roster. We'll hear from Bam Hardmon right here on Jaden Woods and just some more information about that edge jack room.
Really good player. I'm excited to see what he's going to do. Obviously, last year he's had some success, but I think just as he grows into year 2, I think the sky's the limit for him. I think he approaches things the right way, just from a work ethic, from his preparation. So he's doing all the right things in the off season to help give him a chance of having a lot of success once the fall starts.
How did that meeting in Kansas go with him, and what was your message to him about being his position coach?
Yeah, at that time, it was really just wanting to make me and make his family more familiar with one another. Because at that time I hadn't seen him in person at all, and so it was just FaceTime, telephone calls, all those type of things. And so just to get there and make each other feel more confident and comfortable with each other was what that process was about, to just give the family opportunity to answer any questions they had, because I always believe that being face-to-face, there's a unique relationship there, an intimate relationship. And so that's what we just tried to create when we went over there. Obviously, we wanted to push our brand for sure, but I think it went well. He's here, and I'm excited to work with him.
And then what do you think of your jack room, and what do you want to bring out of those guys?
Yeah, we have to be sound and explosive. It's one of those things where Coach White actually came in the room this morning and said, hey, we got to be dominant on the edge, and that's when it comes to rushing the passer, when it comes to containing, different things like that, where we have to make an impression. And so the room that we have some guys that's returning, we have some guys that have high upside, and so at this time we just got to put it all in the flow. And I think this spring will be a great opportunity for us to go out and just work at it, so that come fall we can actually produce it.
Guys, these guys know the standard. Tratwine knows the standards of winning national titles, winning a lot of games. Bam Hardmon won a whole lot of games when he was here. You're going to win a whole lot of games when you have a lot of players like Jaden Woods. It was necessary to go out there to Kansas and get this kid. Of course, freshman All-SEC selection, 3.5 sacks, 28 tackles, 5 tackles for loss. And it's good to hear Hardman played such a crucial role. Just a new face for Jaden Woods, but still playing a crucial role in getting him. Guys, this is the first time we've been together since Florida kept Jaden Woods and Jaden Ball and Miles Graham and Vernell Brown III and Dallas Wilson. This was the last one. This is the one that many thought was going to Texas, the one who actually put his name into the transfer portal. Florida hangs on to him anyway, but Bam Hardman going a long way in getting that one done, along with Jon Sumrall and Brad White.
Go ahead, Sponge.
Yeah, definitely a huge get, man. And like I say, that what's good about that is, you can quickly, show your relationship, build a relationship that quick, share over FaceTime and Zoom and all that stuff and phone calls, texts and everything like that. But like he said, intimate relationship, build the relationship, be one-on-one, be transparent, like be understanding, like this is what type of player I think you can be. And being able to win that and get them back in the orange and blue and not, out in Texas or anywhere else, huge, like I say, because all we heard like last fall was how great Jaden Woods was looking, in fall camp, and like, big expectations for him, in the season. And he lived up to the billing, I'd say, for sure. And he's just going to do nothing but grow and get better as a player. So now, how do these guys like Bam and Brad White and these other coaches, develop these guys into, attack and play the style that they want to play. And like I say, that's just huge, huge, huge deal. And piggybacking too off of what, Alex and you guys were talking about, about Sumrall not hiring his friends. When I think of it is, I don't think he looks at Bam as like, oh, he's my friend. I think he looks at it as, I trust this guy. He's been with me, like you say, at 2 different places. This is his 3rd place. And I feel like, sure, he's a Gator, so that's the cherry on top. But like, if there was going to be, like you say, one guy on the staff that made the most sense, it would have to be Bam. And I think, like, him, making that joke at the beginning of that first bite, of everybody congratulating me, like, we know you're coming, man. Like, so it was like, that was almost like, my text. I was like, I know you're coming. Like, so come on, so just, I can't wait for you to get here, So it was like, because I made jokes even when, I want to say who's the coach? The coach that was at Troy, Neil Brown, when he got the West Virginia job. And I think I texted him then I'm like headed to Morgantown. I was like, you're about to make a step up, from, and even then, he was just like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going to happen. And like I say, who knows? Maybe Sumrall kept him, there when he got there. So you got to feel good just about the assimilation of the staff that Sumrall's put together. I know we've talked about that, and after the dust is all settled, it feels pretty good. And like I say, the two guys we're talking about today, obviously, these are kind of like no-brainer pieces, man. That can make this thing, run to a well-oiled machine that's been here, done that, like we said before. And it's I think that's what's exciting. And so now again, it is talking season 2.0. We got to see some development. We got to see it on the field, and we're hoping, and it's going to look good because we've seen kind of what these guys have done in their previous spots. And like I say, when you got dudes like Jaden Woods and Miles Graham and the rest of those backers you got, like he's got probably, like you say, one of the top rooms on the team. So your expectation level for this group is to be really good. So I'm excited for Bam and all those guys.
Yeah, but going to Alex's point about the room in the town, I do wonder how they might share roles because he's supposed to be the outside linebacker and over these jacks. So we do know Jaden Woods, of course, is in that spot. You got Kofi Asari as well, and then freshman KJ Ford. He was a top 150 recruit. Hardman did go on to praise Ford's maturity, work ethic, ability to execute at a fast pace. Go back to Asari, he had 1 sack, 2.5 tackles for loss last year. But there's going to be a competition there between Asari and KJ Ford. Like I said, one of the top recruits in the 2026 class for the Gators. 15.5 sacks over his final 2 seasons of high school play. And then also LJ McCray could have some snaps at the jack spot as well. So, Alex, when you throw in Jaden Woods, like you said earlier, maybe some LJ McCray. I thought Kofi Asari flashed at times last year when he was on the field. It wasn't out there a whole lot. But I like the motor that I saw from him. And we'll see what this new staff can get out development-wise. But it is interesting when you have a guy who's been at Troy, been at Tulane, and then you throw one of the best players on the roster into his room. I'm eager to see how that does turn out.
That's going to be telltale, right? Because, and this is no shade at Bam or any of the players on Tulane or Troy, right? It's a different level of play and it's a different standard. You're playing against much more competitive competition in the SEC. So you're going to be expected to perform at a higher level. So the tactics that you teach or the mindset or how they study the game, those can all translate. But these guys are going to be going against guys that are bigger and faster than, Bam had coached before. So I hope that all of the intangibles that he's going to teach or help teach will translate. I think that they will. I think that, I think that we're going to see some market improvements from the outsider linebackers and from the jack position. I mean, like you said, he's got one of the best players potentially in the country at his disposal. And is there something that he can put on his plate that is going to push him to another level, make him into, a real deal threat that, every game you're getting him as like the key impact player on all of the broadcasts, right? So I
think with that, probably let's go back to the playing days too. Hardman played in the SEC, kind of, granted, over 20 years ago, I know, but he's still a certain level of play you got to play at. Jon Sumrall at Kentucky, played in the SEC as well, around that same time frame. So, yeah, I mean, I'm like you. I do wonder, coaching at a lower level, how have you coached, and is that relatable? But at the same time, you have played in it. Hopefully, that goes a long way in translating how to coach at this level as well.
Right, and that's kind of what I'm mentioning is. You can coach really well at a place like Troy. And there were other coaches, for example, in previous staffs and like the last 2 staffs that you could look at their rooms and go, oh my gosh, they coached a running back that had 1,000 yards. Oh my gosh, they had a receiver that had, 1,200 yards receiving, whatever it is. And they get here and the production doesn't match. Or they coached a quarterback 2 times ago and that quarterback threw for 4,000, whatever it is. And then it doesn't translate when you get here. So it needs to be shown on the field. We can't just keep on speculating and saying, oh, because he's been good here and here, it's going to be good here. Same goes for all the coordinators too.
Yeah.
I mean, they've shown that they can do a good job wherever they've been. But when you get here, you're in the SEC, you're playing against the top level competition. You need to show that whatever you're teaching is working at the highest level. And that's going to be what everyone's going to be out to prove. Nice cut, by the way.
Oh yeah, that was the same design. I went on like a merch rampage like around the holidays. So all that free time I had, around the holidays. So
yeah,
good stuff.
Yeah, that's even talking about the coordinators, like you say, Brad White coached in the SEC, Buster Faulkner, coached at Georgia, coached at Georgia Tech. So those guys coached in the higher up leagues. Tratwine, Bam, Sumrall, they played in the SEC. You know what I'm saying? So again, this is going back to that. Even Brandon Harris, at the new DB coach.
Yeah.
He played at Miami. He's a young youth. Like I say, you look at the NFL landscape and all these brainiac offensive coordinators, and even Mike McDonald, the guy who just won the Super Bowl with the Seattle. You're getting these younger youth infused coaches. And like I say, there's it's a better connection maybe with the player nowadays. This is a different player that we've got. And like I say, the landscape's just different. So I love the staff that he built, and the little nuances of who's the coach here. And I'm looking forward to, watching these guys. And like I say, especially two guys who've worn the orange and blue. They know what it means, and like I say, that's what's exciting for me to think about those guys being on staff to help get us back in the win column, in the right column.
Yeah, I thought it was a good time for us to get together. It was kind of a homecoming of sorts, for 2026. With these players coming back in, Bam Hardmon, Phil Trautwein. Glad to get these guys back on board in orange and blue. So hopefully, you can tell it means a whole lot to them. To be back, and they express it at the press conference, and certainly I think go a long way in turning this thing around and getting Florida back in championship contention at some point.
Yeah, 100%.
Restore the Gators to elite status. That's the goal, guys.
Yeah, so Alex, you think we should start getting with Dave? And we're coming down here crunch time, man. Gator basketball podcast.
Hey,
I'm about it.
I put out an article today throwing some shade towards Georgia.
BTA to Mike White, man. Mike White bud.
We were a toxic fan base for wanting Mike White going.
How dare we? And that was going to be the biggest mistake of our lives, letting him go, and the biggest middle finger to the Gators for leaving. And oh my gosh, the funniest tweet that I saw was, it's a comment that was on one of the losses. Obviously, Xavier Lee has started to improve.
Yeah.
But there was a previous game where he was 0-4 or 0-5 from the 3-point line, and we beat a team still. And somebody put as a quote on the tweet, "You just got beat by Xavier the contractor Lee. He just built a W house with all the bricks that he was throwing." I don't know. There's people. The Gator Nation has too much time on their hands for Twitter, man. We just, I don't know. We're messed up.
Hey, it was easy to build. In a good way, it was easy to build the brand for Gators Breakdown because Gator Nation's got it rocking on the socials. It's Sponge and I were talking this morning. It's an adventure. Don't get me wrong. And you just gotta. The more you get on there, you gotta learn who to filter out and what to filter out.
There you go. That's it.
But it's been fun. Hey, but yeah, the basketball team certainly coming on. I think. Coming hot at the right time, finding a different way to win the game against Georgia. The guards leading the way more so than the front court. So when Boogie and Lee, if you can start getting that consistent, then that's not going to be every game, of course. And I think you're still going to rely on those big three down there close to the basket. But guys, it just hasn't even been since right before the Auburn game.
Yeah,
and right after the Auburn game, the last 4 or 5 games since the Auburn game. Besides the Auburn game, it's just been blowouts.
Yeah, man.
Florida is just beating the crap out of everybody right now.
And you know who's responsible for this? Olivier Rioux really contributing in the last 30 seconds of every. I'm pretty sure he's been on the stat line every time he's been in the game. He's got 1 point from a free throw. He got a rebound in the Georgia game in the last 15 seconds of the game. he is a major contributor to this team, and we should be giving him more minutes every game. This is a genuine question.
South Carolina fans were cheering for him when
this is a genuine question. Two things. Why not just put him for the jump and then call a timeout right after and just take him out? And two, just sit him under the basket with his arm up. Like, even a guy who's like 7 foot and jumps. I mean, I don't know how high he can jump, but I'm just saying, like, if you did there's 2 seconds left in the game and you had to do a full court pass to somebody, just put him there with his arms up or put him at the jump. And I don't think he can beat. Granted, his vert is probably 5 inches. But I'm just saying, I'm not the coach.
Yeah, there could be a special inbound, him be the guy to stand over the inbounder when they can't run up and down the baseline.
They'll be throwing it right at his midsection.
Yeah, that would definitely be. They should have a wrinkle for that for sure. Why not?
On that note, because of the position he plays, I mean, the development of Chinyelu, I mean, that's
big.
I mean, we saw it last year. From the start of last season to the end of last season was a completely different player. And he's only gotten better. I mean, his development, this time a year ago, we're like, okay, you can start to see something's forming. And then by the time the SEC tournament come along, the NCAA tournament, all right, Chinyulu's a good player. Yeah. He's ratcheted it up another level this year that, you're looking at him being one of the team's best players when you lost so much last year. So you kind of just needed this to happen. And now he's just probably, getting the designation of the best defender in the country.
Well, that clip from the Alabama game, everyone's seen that now.
Yeah, it's been a double machine.
His offensive game is definitely. I remember last year, I'd be so scared when he, bull in a china shop, taking some of those hooks and layups, and he's definitely gotten a little bit of a softer touch with that. He's even hit a little bit of free throws here and there, but he's definitely, his rebounding and defense is just another level. And so, like I say, the guy, if he could get it together, Mr. Inconsistent, where one night he'll have a good night, and then last night, dude, Condon had 7 turnovers, dude.
That's what I was just about to say.
I don't know what happened to him after that Alabama game last year on the road where he went slap off, and I was like, dude, this guy, if we get this every night, this is going to be easy.
Dude, they were starting to be first round pick NBA after that game.
I don't know. And then literally after that game, he just completely lost confidence in himself. He got a little bit injured, and like I say, he hasn't been good this year. He's been good, but he hasn't been great, and he's been so up and down, like you just said, all year. And if you could get just, you don't even have to be 25 and like the Bama game or whatever, but you can't have 7 turnovers, dude.
Yeah, I did like some of the plays that he had. He and Kane kind of had that back and forth of the block and then the dunk and then the other block on the other end. And, you see flashes of that, that player that he was. But I think what's kind of gotten in his head is the fact that he just really struggles to hit the 3. And all the scouts were telling him, we want you to hit 3s. And he's been trying to do it. And he's shooting it at 8%, some awful number. It's terrible. And so, I think that might be in his head a little bit. I think he needs to get back to that really close range hook shot game that he is really good at and be a little bit more physical. And something else I wanted to throw out, and I wanted to talk about Chinyelu for a half second. Like you said, Sponge, his offense has really improved. We knew he was a good rebounder, and obviously that has stepped up too. But the fact that he has shown improvements in offense is encouraging. I also really, and I talked about him last year, I really like Isaiah Brown. He just got a clean looking shot. that thing probably hits the ceiling every time you shoot the 3. But he's just I like the way he plays. It's aggressive. It's very physical. I genuinely I'm already excited for next year to see him take a bigger role. See Ingram step in a little bit more. Even Lloyd has looked good in little flashes where he's been in the game. And so
Herb's just taking a step this year.
Yeah.
Herb, if he could start to learn how to drive the ball a little more and learn to not turn the ball over and play defense, then he could be he might even be considered starting material, over Lee potentially, or Boogie, whoever they're picking that night. I think that the fact that he's just nailing 3s at the rate that he is great. he has a couple other things that he's got to round out in order to make him a consistent, 20, 25 plus minute player a game.
He's definitely a better defender than he was last year.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, last year he couldn't defend a 5-year-old. Like, let's be real. Like this year, he's definitely stepped up, but you can see like little like flashes of what last year was. Like letting guys blow by or like foul when you shouldn't be foul. I mean, he's got work to do, but a lot of the guys other than Condon have taken a huge step forward, I'd say, from what they were last year, of who they were on the team. Tommy Houck obviously has just been lights out most nights. He's kind of had, a couple of those roller coaster up and down where you're like, where did he go? Where's this guy? And then, he lights up like 3 threes in a row and you're like, there he is. So I'm excited about the team, man, but I definitely don't have that like that flutter in my stomach of like, this is going to be the team this year. I still need to get that little spark and see something from these guards to make me feel that.
Yeah, it's hard to measure and compare to last year because you knew how deep the SEC was last year, and Florida would go on the road and beat Alabama, beat a good Auburn team, beat a good Tennessee team. Now, I think the way you do equate that so far is go back to the earlier point I made, because they're just beating the crap at everybody right now. Yeah. So maybe that's the way you equate it, because SEC is not as strong as it was last year, but Florida's beating the crap out of everybody right now. Yeah, because
this Saturday's game against Kentucky will be big, just because Kentucky's Kentucky and they're decent, but it's not the Kentucky of like they're not like world beaters. And you go back and you look at again the teams that they lost to early in the year. They're all teams that have basically, like, Arizona just lost their first ball game. Arizona, Duke, and UConn.
The TCU loss doesn't look as bad now.
TCU's a really good team. Missouri on the road is a scrappy team. That's just a weird place to play. That was a freaking 9:00 game. The game didn't get over to like.
And not only that, that makes Golden 0 for 4 in SEC openers.
Yeah, right. So
it's just a thing. It's just a thing now.
It'll be interesting to see because no team it looks like a world beater. Because I was watching UConn the other night and they were kind of in a game against Butler. So it's all about, again, the tournament is all about. Can these guards get hot? If not, your front court is really, really good, and they're going to have to just take over every game. You got to get a good draw. You got to get lucky. And so, like I say, I definitely can see them making a run. And then there's not a team, that just looks like sure, Duke looks really good, but I just watched them lose in North Carolina the other day. So it's like it's everybody's kind of gettable. It's all about your seed and your draw, and then do you get an upset in your draw where you don't have to play? If you're matched up where you might have to play a UConn again or something, and they get beat, and then you get an easier road. All that's what makes March crazy. So, but I do like the way the rest of the schedule is set up to where I was talking to you this morning. Like I feel like they're tougher games. Kentucky, Arkansas, those games are at home, so we'll see what happens when they got to go win a couple of these road games out of Texas or Ole Miss or whoever they got down the stretch. But who knows, man?
And I've got one final comment, and that is obviously Fland and Lee, put them aside for a second. Cloudjar, Condon, Houck, Isaiah Brown, Chinyelu, they've been there. They know what it takes. Just kind of we're talking about like Troutwine, like Bam. They know what it takes to get to the top. They have been in the pressure cooker. How many times were the Gators down last year and we found a way? Yeah. So like, even though Condon was up and down, we found ways, and he would have light up games where we needed him. Same thing with Chinyelu. So those 3 guys, Tommy, Condon, Chinyelu, need to be the most vocal supporters of this team to say, guys, we've been there. We know what it takes, and it's time to step it up. And hopefully Lee, Fland, Cloudjar, all of them come along and step it up too.
That's the thing about you, Chinyelu. On that note, that jerky, he just seems like a lightning rod. I mean, he's first of all, he makes the opposing team get so aggravated because of what he does under the basket and rebounds and all that. But then also, he's just that personality, the buzz that he brings to the team, I think goes a long way.
You see, like I think it was like last week, he got mad at him that they started the press conference without him or something.
Oh no, I didn't see that.
Yeah, it was like Condon and Houck were sitting there, and I think it was somebody else, but I think it was Boogie, and they had started. And then he was like yelling, walking in the room, and they're like, I forgot what they called him, but then they were like, "You going to start this thing without me?" So it was pretty funny. Like I said, you could just tell he's definitely got the personality of the room, and it's just again they've been there. So like you said, that'll be the cool part is, and dude, Golden's a hell of a coach, and like he's going to call some good plays. So like I say, it's going to be a fun, hopefully a fun rest of the final, 5 or 6 games, and then you get to SEC play, and then, we'll start the big dance, and we'll see where we're at.
For sure.
Look,
All right,
we got some Gator basketball talk on the end of Gator breakdown with Bam Hardman and Phil
I tried to
Trautwein.
bring it back. I tried to steer it back to the original topic.
Let's go.
All good. We're good. I had a comment yesterday talking some basketball. So there you go. Hope you got happy right there. So, all right, taking care of it right here. Sponge, Alex Shepard right here on Gators Breakdown. David Waters right here at GatorDave_GB right there on social media. So everybody, thanks for hopping on and enjoying another episode of Gators Breakdown with us.